I never thought I'd be the guy to find out that his wife's been cheating on him, especially not during what I thought was the happiest time of my life, our engagement. Me, Jake, and Marissa, we'd been together for almost 2 years. I always believed she was the one. She told me she was committed, honest, and ready to build a future. Yeah, I know, typical romantic fool, but I never had a reason to doubt her. Everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. We met when we were both fresh out of college. I was working as an accountant, she was a marketing exec. She had this bitchy attitude sometimes. She liked to act like she was better than everyone, especially when it came to her friends or her job. But she's also very charming in her own way, so I overlooked it. She was beautiful, funny, sharp, and always quick with a comeback. I thought she was my best friend, my partner in crime. Things started to shift about 6 months ago. She'd come home later than usual, sometimes with a strange smile on her face. Or she'd be unusually distant, distracted. I'd ask her what was wrong and she'd brush me off, call me paranoid or jealous. She'd say, "Jake, relax, I'm just tired from work," or "You're overthinking again." But I noticed her phone was never far from her hand and she'd hide it whenever I looked over her shoulder. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was just stressed or maybe I was overreacting. Then came the first real sign. Her phone kept buzzing at odd hours and she'd get defensive when I asked to see it. She'd change her password, delete messages, and sometimes she'd get angry if I even glanced at her screen. I started feeling like I was losing control, like I was trying to catch her in something but never quite succeeding. The worst part, I was too scared to push too hard, afraid to damage what we had. I loved her. I thought she loved me back. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The gut feeling kept gnawing at me. I'd see her talking to her best friend, Tyler, more than usual, always laughing, sometimes whispering too close, touching her arm. She tell me it was just a friendly chat, that Tyler was her childhood best friend and nothing more. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more beneath the surface. The way she'd brush off my concerns, act irritated when I asked questions, that was a red flag. I just didn't have proof yet. Then last week everything changed. I was cleaning out some old emails and came across a message from her, sent late at night. It was from Tyler. The tone was flirty, suggestive even. My heart dropped. It wasn't just friendly banter. It was obvious they had something more going on. My stomach clenched. I read through more messages and it was worse than I imagined. They'd been sneaking around, hiding their conversations, maybe even sex. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I didn't confront her right away. I needed to gather myself. But the evidence was clear. I knew she had lied about everything, about her contact with Tyler, about her late nights, about how she felt about me. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and confused. How could I have been so blind? How did I miss all the signs? I loved her so much, but now I started questioning everything. Did I ever really know her? Or was I just fooling myself all along? I spent the night awake, staring at her phone, replaying everything I had discovered. My mind was racing with questions, anger, heartbreak. I wondered how she could be so bitchy and dishonest, how she could lie for months and pretend everything was fine. The image of her smiling, acting like the perfect fiancée, now looked like a mask she wore to hide her real self. I felt sick. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew this wasn't going to be easy. The worst part, I didn't even get a chance to prepare for this betrayal. It just hit me like a freight train. I had to see her face, hear her lie to me directly. I needed to confront her. I wanted to know why she did it, what she was thinking, how long she'd been lying. I knew I was about to face a showdown I never expected, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay anymore. I was done being the idiot who trusted her blindly. Now I was just trying to hold it all together, trying not to fall apart. The moment I found her phone sitting on the kitchen counter, I knew I was going to do something I'd regret, but I couldn't help myself. It was just lying there, unlocked, with a message blinking on the screen from Tyler. I stared at it, my heart pounding so loud I thought I might faint. The message was explicit, suggestive, maybe even dirty. I could almost taste the betrayal. I wasn't prepared for how angry I felt, how much my stomach churned with a mixture of fury and heartbreak. It was like a punch to the chest, knowing she'd been lying about everything. I had a million thoughts racing through my head. How long had this been going on? Was I just some fool to her, a backup plan until Tyler came along? I felt so betrayed, so humiliated that I wanted to scream. I was trembling as I picked up her phone and started scrolling through her messages. Every word confirmed what I'd feared. She'd been sneaking around, lying, hiding a secret life with her best friend. The texts were full of flirtation, plans for secret meetups, and explicit talk about the sex they'd been having. All the while she told me she was tired, stressed, busy with her career. Lies, all lies. I didn't want her to see me like this, so I quickly hid the phone behind my back. My mind raced with what I should do next. I knew I couldn't just leave it like that. I had to get answers, but I didn't want to confront her immediately, at least not until I'd figured out my next move. I decided to wait until she came home from work. I needed to think, to calm down, and most importantly, to prepare myself for the inevitable confrontation. When she finally walked through the door that evening, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, I felt my stomach tighten. She looked at me with that familiar smirk, that bitchy, condescending smile that always rubbed me the wrong way sometimes. She tossed her purse on the table and leaned against the wall, acting like she had no idea what I'd found. "Hey, babe," she said sweetly, but there was a sharper edge underneath her tone. "What's up?" I looked at her, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "Marissa, I need to talk to you about something I saw today, something that's been bothering me for weeks." She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "What now? Seriously, Jake, I'm tired. Can't this wait?" "No," I said firmly. "It can't. I found your phone, your messages, the ones from Tyler. The ones where you're talking about sex, about sneaking around, about lying to me." I saw her eyes flicker, a flash of panic, and I knew I was right. "Who is Tyler, Marissa? Tell me. Why were you hiding all this from me?" For a moment she just stared at me, her face a mix of defiance and annoyance. Then she sneered. "Oh, so now you're spying on me? Classic Jake. You're just jealous because Tyler's the guy I actually have fun with, unlike you who's boring and predictable." I felt a surge of rage. I couldn't believe she was trying to spin this. "Fun? You call screwing your best friend fun? Lying to me for months? How long has this been going on? What was it? Sex? Or just some stupid flirting?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes again. "You're overreacting as usual. Tyler and I are just friends. He's been there for me, that's all. You're just insecure, Jake. You always have been." I clenched my fists. "Insecure? No, I'm just sick of getting played. I loved you, Marissa. I trusted you. And you've been lying to my face the whole time. How could you do this? How could you pretend everything was fine?" She stepped closer, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Look, I don't owe you explanations. I don't have to justify myself to you. All I know is, you're not the guy I want anymore. I deserve better than some guy who's too stupid to see what's happening right under his nose." The words hit like a punch. I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. Anger, sadness, confusion, everything swirled inside me. I wanted to scream, to yell, to make her see how much she'd destroyed us with her lies. But I also knew I needed to keep my composure, at least for now. I stared at her, feeling a strange mix of heartbreak and fury. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by this manipulative, bitchy version who lied and cheated and thought she could get away with it. I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her and realized I had to decide what to do next. My mind was racing. Should I confront her again? Should I kick her out? Should I just walk away? All I knew was nothing would be the same after today. My entire world had shifted in a matter of minutes, and I couldn't trust her anymore. No matter what she said, I knew I'd never see her the same way again. The silence stretched between us, thick and heavy like a storm about to break. I could see her trying to maintain that bitchy, confident attitude, but underneath I saw the cracks. She was panicking, or maybe just angry that I'd caught her. Either way, she was trying to brush it off, to act like I was overreacting, but I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. All the little lies, the fake smiles, the late nights, the hidden conversations, they all added up to one thing: I'd been played for a fool. Her voice, when she finally spoke again, was a sharp, defensive tone. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. Tyler is just a friend. I told you that already. You're insecure, Jake. You're paranoid, just like always." She took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. "You're just jealous because I don't want to be with someone who's so freaking insecure all the time. Honestly, I don't even know why I stayed with you this long." That was the moment I felt something snap inside me. Her words, her tone, they didn't just sting. They ignited a fury I'd never fully felt before. I looked straight into her eyes and said, "You don't get to call me insecure. You don't get to throw around blame when you're the one lying, cheating, and sneaking around. I trusted you, Marissa. I loved you, but you've been nothing but a liar from the start. How long has this been going on? Months? Years?" She smirked, a vicious, confident smirk that made my stomach turn. Months maybe, or longer. I honestly lost track. "But I'm tired of pretending to be the perfect fiancé for your stupid little expectations. Tyler is better than you in every way. He's fun, he listens, he's not a bore like you." I felt my fists clenching uncontrollably. Her words were venom, and I was trying so hard not to explode. But at that moment, I realized I'd had enough of her bullshit. I couldn't keep pretending to be the husband-to-be she'd painted in her lies. I stepped back, trying to breathe, trying to contain the rage boiling inside me. "You're right," I finally managed. "You're better off with Tyler. Hell, maybe I'm better off without you, because I don't know what kind of person you really are anymore. All I know is I don't want to be with someone who lies about everything, who cheats, and who thinks she can just walk away from it all like it's no big deal. I deserve better than this bullshit." She rolled her eyes again, crossing her arms. "Fine, do whatever you want, I don't care anymore. Honestly, I was tired of pretending we were some perfect couple anyway. You're boring, Jake. You never had a spine. Now you finally do." Her words hit like a slap. I felt a mixture of disgust and heartbreak. I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, selfish bitch who'd been using me as a backup plan, as someone she could control and lie to. The person I thought I loved was gone, replaced by this angry, bitter version who didn't care about me at all. I turned away, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. I didn't want to yell anymore. I just wanted to get out of there, to put some distance between us. This wasn't the woman I married. I thought I knew her, but now I realized I'd never truly known her at all. Before I walked out, I looked at her one last time, my voice cold and steady. "You lied to me for months. You cheated on me with Tyler, and I swear I'll never forget this. You can keep pretending you're better without me, but I'll be better off without your lies too." With that, I grabbed my coat and left, not looking back. As I stepped outside into the cold night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and despair. I'd lost her, yes, but I'd also gained a sliver of clarity. I was done being the fool who trusted someone like her blindly. Now I had to figure out what came next, how to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart and move on from this betrayal. I just hope I never have to go through something like this again. The days that followed felt like I was walking through a fog. I kept replaying everything in my head, her words, her sneers, the way she tried to dismiss everything like it was no big deal. It was like waking up from a nightmare, realizing the woman I loved had been lying, cheating, and hiding her true self for who knows how long. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated in my life. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her smirk, and the way she looked at Tyler like he was the only person who ever mattered. I stayed in my apartment, not wanting to face anyone. Honestly, I didn't want to see her or hear her excuse or whatever bullshit she'd try to throw at me next. I was hurt, angry, and more than anything, I felt stupid for trusting her so blindly for so long. I kept scrolling through those messages from Tyler, trying to make sense of it all, trying to understand how I'd missed all the signs, how I'd been played. One night, I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending I was fine. I needed to talk to someone, so I called my best friend, Mike. He's seen me through a lot, and I knew I could count on him to tell me the truth. When I told him everything, his reaction was straightforward, like I expected. "Man, that bitch was lying to your face. You deserve so much better than someone who cheats and lies. You gotta cut her loose. She's not worth your time." That helped a little, but it didn't fix the ache inside. I kept wondering if I'd ever trust anyone again, or if I'd just be doomed to always look for the signs of betrayal. Honestly, I felt like I was at rock bottom. I was angry at her, sure, but mostly I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. How did I miss all the signs? Was I just blind? Or was she really that good at hiding it? I knew I had to make a decision, whether to try and salvage the relationship or just walk away for good. Part of me thought about trying to forgive her, to forget the pain and move on. But deep down, I knew that was going to happen. Once you find out your partner been lying about something this huge, it's hard to come back from it. Trust is like a fragile glass, and once it's shattered, no amount of glue can put it back together. I started packing some of my things, mostly just to get out of the apartment and clear my head. I didn't tell her I was leaving. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction. I just grabbed my clothes, some important documents, and a few personal items. As I was doing it, I kept thinking about all the times I'd made excuses for her, told myself she was just stressed or tired. Turns out, she'd been lying all along, playing me like a damn fool. That night, I slept on a friend's couch. I couldn't bear to go back to the place I shared with her, not after everything that had happened. The betrayal was too fresh, too raw. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. Part of me kept telling myself I was better off without her, that I deserved someone who wouldn't lie or cheat. But another part, smaller and quieter, was just heartbroken, wondering if I'd ever be able to trust again at all. By the next day, I made some calls. I started talking to a lawyer, trying to understand what my options were if I decided to divorce or separate. I didn't want to rush into anything, but I knew I couldn't stay silent. I had to protect myself, my future, and make sure she didn't get away with this. Honestly, I was already starting to think about how to move on, how to rebuild my life without her. The hardest part was facing the reality that I'd been so naive. I'd loved her, trusted her, and she'd used that trust as a weapon against me. I kept thinking about the girl I thought I knew, the one who smiled and lied and hid her true self behind a mask. It's like I'd been living in a dream, and now I was finally waking up. I don't know if I'll ever fully get over this, but I do know one thing. I won't be played for a fool again. Not by her, not by anyone. I have to rebuild, to find myself again, and maybe one day learn to trust again. But it won't be her, that's for damn sure. The weeks went by in a blur. I kept myself busy, trying to focus on work and friends, but the pain of what she did lingered like a dark cloud over everything. I'd catch myself thinking about her, about all the lies and the betrayal, and it made my stomach churn. Every time I remembered those messages, I felt a mix of anger and sadness that was hard to shake. Still, I knew I couldn't stay stuck in that place forever. I started seeing a therapist, not just to deal with the heartbreak, but to understand how I'd let myself get so blindsided. It was humbling to realize how much trust I'd given her without asking too many questions. My therapist told me that sometimes we ignore the signs because we want to believe in the best of people, but ignoring those signs only makes us more vulnerable. I guess I needed that wake-up call, hard as it was. I also started dating again slowly. Nothing serious, just hanging out, meeting new people, trying to rebuild my confidence. I didn't want to rush into anything, especially with the scars still fresh, but I knew I had to move on, not just for myself, but because I deserved to be happy again. The thing is, every new person I met, I kept wondering if they'd be honest, if I could actually trust them. I guess that's what she broke inside me, my trust, my ability to believe in the goodness of others. One day I ran into Tyler, the guy she cheated on me with, at a local coffee shop. I wasn't sure what I'd do, confront him, ignore him, or just walk out. But I wasn't planning to start anything. Still, when I saw him, I felt this surge of anger. Not because I wanted a fight, I just wanted him to know that I knew. He looked uncomfortable, avoiding my gaze, probably realizing I knew everything. I simply nodded at him, said nothing, and walked out. That moment confirmed one thing: I'd been right about everything. He was a part of the betrayal, and I was done pretending I didn't know. As for her, Marissa, I tried blocking her out of my mind. No more texts, no more calls. I changed my number, deleted her from social media. I knew I had to cut her out completely if I wanted to heal. The hardest part was accepting that she'd never be honest with me, never tell me the truth, and I'd have to learn to live with that. It hurt to admit that I might never get closure, but I decided I'd focus on myself instead. Because if I kept dwelling on her, I'd never be able to move forward. Looking back, I realized how much I'd learned about myself through all this. I learned that trust should never be blind, that people can hide who they really are behind a pretty face, and that sometimes you just have to accept that not everyone is worth your time or your heart. I also learned that revenge isn't always about doing something destructive. It's about reclaiming your life, standing up for yourself, and moving on. Now, I'm at a point where I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not easy, and some days are still really hard, but I know I'm stronger because of this. I don't think I'll ever fully forget what happened, but I'm learning how to forgive myself for trusting her so blindly, and to forgive her too for what she did. Maybe someday I'll even find someone who's worth my trust again. But for now, I'm just focusing on rebuilding my life, piece by piece, and making sure I never get blindsided like this again. It's funny how life throws you curveballs when you least expect them. Looking back, I realized that all the pain I went through was a brutal but necessary lesson. Trust isn't something you just give away blindly. It's something fragile that needs to be earned and maintained. I thought I knew Marissa, I really did. But now I see her for what she was, a girl who lied, cheated, and played the victim to hide her own insecurities and selfishness. What hurts the most is how I let myself believe her lies for so long. I was naive, yes, but I also trusted her because I wanted to believe in us. I wanted to believe that I found someone who was honest, someone who cared about me. But her actions proved otherwise. She was manipulative, bitchy, and selfish. She lied about everything, from her late nights to her conversations with Tyler, and I was too blind to see it. The moment I found out the truth, everything changed. I felt like I was walking around in a fog of betrayal, trying to piece together the pieces of my broken heart. I confronted her, and the things she said, her dismissive attitude, her insults, only confirmed what I already knew. She didn't care about me. She cared about herself and her own selfish needs. That realization was bitter, but it freed me in a strange way. I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your right to be happy. I decided to walk away, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I deserved better. I needed to heal, to rebuild, and to find someone who'd appreciate me for who I am, not a version I pretended to be for her. Now, months later, I can honestly say I'm starting to feel like myself again. I still get flashbacks, still feel the sting of betrayal sometimes, but I'm stronger than I was before. I've cut out the toxic people, focused on my career, and taken the time to rediscover what makes me happy. I don't regret what happened. I see it as a brutal but valuable lesson. Never blindly trust someone, and always listen to your instincts. Most importantly, I've learned to forgive myself for trusting so blindly in the first place. That's a process, and I know it'll take time. But I know I'll come out of this better, wiser, and more cautious about who I let into my life. Because at the end of the day, trust is earned, not given. And if someone shows you they're not worth it, don't hesitate to walk away. You owe it to yourself to find happiness and peace, even if it comes after some painful lessons.